Hey guys, it's Ornlu, and I know I'm a little late on this, but I've been a bit tired and a bit busy with finishing up RMS Cup 2 and T90 Titans League these past couple weeks. But this is going to be my recap and reflections video for RMS Cup 2. It is the $20,000 plus tournament that I hosted alongside Nova and Siesta. And I've been, uploading videos on it here and there. And it's just been kind of a big part of my life for the past, few months-ish. So, gonna go over it. Gonna start with the results. Gonna go talk about the civs and, map stats and stuff like that. And then I'm going to do some reflections on what it was like hosting, or co-hosting, my first S-tier AoE 2 tournament. So, that's gonna be the game plan. So, I'm first of all, bottom line, I am happy with how the tournament went. I think we had some really good games, and people seemed to really enjoy it, got a lot of positive feedback. So, with that in mind, let's jump right into the results of the tournament. So, yeah, spoilers. If you don't want to be spoiled, click away. Run away, run away. Alrighty, so here we are on the Liquipedia page, and we had, of course, our maps that were the 10 map contest winners. And I'll talk more about these later, but I think that in general the maps did perform quite well. We had good games on every single map. But as for the basic results, we had a double elimination stage. Let me zoom in a little bit for you guys. There we go. So first up, we had Viper pretty soundly defeating Doubt, having a very narrow reverse sweep against Sito. He was able to make it through just fine, Sito knocking out Nikov. Tato and Yo, this is not the last time these guys will face, but beating Sammy Name and Dark super comfortably, having a really sick set that Yo narrowly edged out. Hera narrowly defeating Vivi in a very nice set as well. Jordan pretty soundly defeating MBL, but then in turn getting soundly defeated by Hera. And then Valessa winning 3-1 over Vinchester, and then ACCM 3-0 over Fire. Again, another very good series between these two, which Valessa was able to take. Dropping down to the losers bracket. So the way that this worked is that the Viper, Yo, Hera, and Valessa got automatic seeds into the quarterfinals, whereas the other 4 quarterfinalists had to fight it out against each other, with the players who won one set getting an advantage. They get a bye, essentially. So after some close sets here and there, eventually Doubt able to squeeze a win over Jordan, ACCM pretty soundly defeating Dark, Vivi sweeping Sito, and Tato sweeping Fire. So already we can see results that I think people would generally expect, but a very strong result from Vivi knocking out MBL in the first round, Fire defeating Vinchester, so we had Vinchester falling, who would then go on to win T90 Titans League, so pretty impressive that he was able to, do so well in that tournament while kind of falling short in this one. But yeah, pretty strong result from Vivi. I think nobody else would really be too surprised at the top 8. I mean, maybe you would think Doubt would lose to Jordan, but it was a very close set, so that one could certainly go either way. Once we got to the quarterfinals, though, we had the Viper losing to Tato and losing pretty decisively, and this was certainly a matter of Tato's very solid preparation coming through. He knew exactly what he was doing in every map. Viper was just kind of, he was certainly trying. This was Tato playing for his Red Bull qualifier spot. Viper was not, but still, Viper was definitely going at it, but just not with the same degree of preparation and probably intensity that Tato was. So Tato able to take the 3-1 win there. Hera and Yo having easy times with ACCM and Vivi. So with that, we had Hera and Tato both book their Red Bull spots, so nicely done for them. And then Yo making it to the semifinals, and Doubt falling very, very close set to Valessa. Then in our semifinals, we had Tato. Again, Hera was certainly prepared. We learned later that Hera and Yo were practicing together, but Tato, just such smart decision-making and some of the cleanest Age of Empires I've seen from him in quite a long time, able to make it to the grand finals, defeating Hera 4-1 in what I would consider an upset. And then Yo in a very close series defeating Valessa, who is also looking quite strong these days, but that led us to our grand finals, which was a 5-0 Mr. Yo. Mr. Yo, Hawaii 5 Yo showing up in force, and Tato just kind of getting outmatched at every single turn. There were some really good games in here. It's not like Tato just rolled over and died. It was just that in every single game, Tato would get an early lead or something like that, and then Mr. Yo would just be like, okay, I'll just do this, this, and this, and then, he's able to take the win. So really impressive result from Mr. Yo. He does win his second S-tier tournament in a row after the resurgence. So yeah, very strong result from him, and well done for sure. So those are the results of the tournament. Nothing like terribly surprising, except perhaps the rise of Tato with a very strong result from him, and Vivi also making top 8 is, I think, a really big result for him as well. So that's the results of RMS Cup 2. I'll talk more about the sort of broad stuff as far as that goes in a little bit, but now let's go over to the maps. Alrighty, moving my face to the corner so that you guys can see what's going on, but this is really the bread and butter of RMS Cup 2. I mean, Random Map Script Cup 2, it's all about showing the strengths of the AoE2 mapmaking community, and so it was really important for us in this tournament to have good maps, and I really think, like I said, that we did see them really deliver. As far as like general Civ stats, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but Berbers didn't do so well. Burgundians and Byzantines, absolutely fantastic win rates. Chinese as well. Huns were super popular. I think they were the most popular Civ overall. In the end, they had kind of a close to a 50 win rate, but just a very popular and prominent Civ. Malians having a terrible time. Feels bad, man, for them. And nothing else really all that wild. Poor Vietnamese and Bengalis, the only Civs that never saw any play. Ripperino. But I do want to talk about these maps and sort of the process in picking them, as well as how they played out, because, like I said, that is sort of the core part of RMS Cup 2. So, starting with Border Wars, by the way, guys, this spreadsheet is by Nerfox, who does, like, most of the tournament spreadsheets, and it looks very nice, so credit to him for that. This was picked 36 times, so 8% of all maps played, and this was our 2TC start map. We actually had a lot of 2TC start maps that were submitted, and some of them actually got pretty wild, but this one was the sort of most standard one. You did have that split in the middle with the fortified palisade wall that you had to punch through, but other than that, really wasn't that much that was like gimmicky about it. You did have some shorefish under your town center to help your double TC production, but at the end of the day, the most civs that we saw on this, or the civs that we saw the most on this map were definitely Huns, and then Hindustanis and Berbers as a counterpick to Huns. Great civ across the board. Chinese were banned a lot, so that's why we didn't see them as much here. But Huns not needing to build houses just really smooths out your early game, and then just the massed Cav Archer play is really, really good. I think that this map was successful. I don't think that there was anything like too exciting about it in the sense of it's not that wild, but it was a 2TC start map, and that is just part of the Age of Empires 2 map making, profile, I guess. And yeah, I think the map did its job. So Border Wars, I would say, was successful, although not that popular. Speaking of sort of fitting the AoE2 map portfolio, we have Brahmaputra, and that was played 39 times, so just a little bit more than Border Wars. This one was banned a lot. And this was our Nomad map. It's kind of like inverted Nomad, where Nomad has the island, of course, like regular Nomad has the island, and then you're, surrounded by a little bit of water. This is, you have a little bit of water surrounded by land. There's the river going through, not too many fish, and then you're kind of in this little mountain valley. And usually players would just kind of plop their TCs down on opposite sides of the map, so there wasn't really anything like, oh, some person had like a terrible TC start and one person had an amazing TC start. It was pretty balanced. But at the end of the day, this is a Nomad map, so Spanish, Malians, Mongols all being picked a bunch. Malians not performing that well because they don't really have the greatest matchups against Mongols and Spanish, even though they are pretty good on paper. This map had a decent amount of hunts, so Mongols do well, and then Spanish just are insanely strong on Nomad maps. So I would say that we did have some good games here. I wouldn't say it was like the best performing map out there. It was fine. It was a Nomad map, and it did the job of having that Nomad map and bringing that little bit of diversity to the tournament. So it was fine. Fractal. This one was a lot of people's favorite maps. In fact, it won the community vote for their favorite map, so it was game number 1 in the finals. Played 59 times, or 12% of overall maps, and we saw several different civs be quite popular here. We saw Byzantines, Celts, Lithuanians, Mayans, Poles, all very popular. Nobody really sticking out a ton as far as win rate goes, except maybe Mayans a little bit, and then Celts not performing very well at all. Feels bad, man. But yeah, there's just a ton of variety here. This was our very aggressive Socotra-like map. But unlike Socotra, it did have, I think, a lot more late game potential because you could expand by chopping through to go to the back. And then there was also the water aspect of the map with dock blocking potential. And I think that this map, even though it was fairly fixed in its spawns, like you were always on like one side of the fractal and the other person on the other side of the fractal, it played out pretty well. And I'm quite happy with how this map turned out. We did make a couple of adjustments early on, like after the qualifiers, which I think were quite helpful. But people really like this map. Pro players like this map. Viewers like this map. And yeah, I'm really, really happy with how Fractal panned out. Next up is another fan favorite and player favorite map. It is Koala. 14% picked, times played 66. I think that is the highest of any map. Yep. So definitely good map. Essentially kind of the Arabia-ish map, but you had the 3 relics that were pretty close to your TC. You could wall in each of the koala ears, and there's a lot of gold on the outside. You can just see the variety of civs that were picked here. Just so many different ways to play it. Saracens were quite popular. Mayans were quite popular. Aztecs, all doing quite well. Hun's actually not doing so well on this one, but yeah. This was, at least Tato and Mr. Yo's, the 2 finalists, this was both of their favorite maps, and I think this is one that we could actually see in future tournaments, potentially. It's different enough from Arabia to be interesting, and, but still close enough to Arabia that you kind of get that similar style of game. Le Grand Fossé is our Asterix and Obelix map, and it was the least popular map, being picked only 30 times, 6% of all games played. And yeah, this one was kind of Chinese City. They were 7-1 on this map just because you started with super easy food like right under your TC that just kind of instantly makes Chinese really good. This might have been the weakest map overall. It was fun. You had the Gaia camps at the sides, but I wouldn't say that there were that many great games here. It's a fun map for sure, but we just saw a lot of, okay, let's go fast castle and then go super aggressive from there, and then it just kind of snowballed potentially. And we did have like a couple good games here, but I still, I don't know. It wasn't the most exciting map out there. What was really exciting was Low Tide, which was our full aggressive hybrid map, played 59 times, 12% of all maps picked. And this was, yeah, a really interesting map. Malian's not doing so well, and Japanese doing quite well on it. But other than that, the Civ variety wasn't like that crazy, but we just saw so many exciting games here. The meta changed a lot between how much you want to focus on going for water, where there was mostly shorefish, versus how aggressive you wanted to go on land because you were super open. We saw a ton of really exciting games here, and yeah, I'm definitely happy with how this one worked out overall. Just tons of aggression, and getting that little bit more of a naval aspect than we had in most of the maps. We didn't have a full water map, and this was kind of the closest we got to it. I thought water would be maybe a little bit more like they'd fight over it, but I think that it ended up fine with the quality of games we saw on the map. Mount Kailash, I would say that this one didn't perform that well. It ended up being super passive. Burgundians and Huns doing really well on the map. Poles, it was discovered in the later parts of the tournament, also really strong. You just kind of sit back and boom, and then go to late game. The mountain area, the relics wasn't used all that much. It did, again, have some really exciting games, but it tended more towards the campy side of things, which, like, I'm fine with, but a lot of people didn't like as much. And yeah, just a lot of, like, full walls, Castle Age, and just not a lot of excitement happening for quite a while. Still not a bad map, though. Quebrada de Cafayate played 56 times, 12%. And, again, I think this is probably one of the weaker maps in the tournament. Franks, super popular here. Mongols, Chinese as well, Tatars. All of those were quite good. Some really strong aggressive plays, some games that just kind of were snowbally. There were a lot of games where like somebody got a lead early on and then it was just like pressure, and then eventually they broke. And there was a lot of 1TC aggression play on this map. So this was on the more aggressive side of things, but at the same time, I feel like the quality of games wasn't perhaps as high as I would like. The sides of the map weren't usually that big of a deal, and we saw a lot of games that were kind of ended by players having holes in their walls because it was just really hard to tell if you're fully walled, so that was kind of disappointing. But yeah, it was fine. It was fine. None of these maps were bad. Ring of Reeds is a map that I thought performed really well. 50 times played, 11% of all maps. Yes, Burgundians definitely were the most popular pick, followed by Bohemians, but we still saw some really strong plays from other civs. Khmer had some good strategeries, and this was like our arena-like map of the tournament. It was aggressive enough so that we still saw a lot of early feudal age pressure, but at the same time, it was a little bit more late game oriented. You could go forward and take the food in the middle, or you could focus on the outside, and there was that whole interesting dynamic as far as that went. And I'd say that in general, this was probably one of the best performing maps of the tournament. A lot of really good games here. Anyway, last but not least, we have Spiral, played 42 times, 9% of all maps played. Huge variety of civs here, and this is another map that I think performed quite well. This was like a sort of hybrid map, but not too much. It's really focused on just map control and expanding all over the place. You start, close to the edge of the map, but still pretty open. You have the cow and sheep that you can get early on, and then just not much golden stone nearby, so you really need to go all out on the map. Saw a ton of different civs here. Byzantines with a slightly good performance, but nothing that is, again, too wild. Just a lot of variety, and I think a lot of really fun games on this map. Tatar's not doing so well, feels bad, man. But overall, probably my favorite maps were Fractal, Koala, Low Tide, Ring of Reeds, and Spiral. I think those 5 maps are ones that I would actually like to see potentially like in future tournaments or added on to the ladder maybe. But still, 5 really good maps, and even the other 5 maps didn't perform that badly. We didn't have any like complete fails of maps, so overall, I think that we did a good job picking a variety of different maps that played out quite differently, saw a lot of different civs and strategies and all of that good stuff, which then brings me to reflections on the tournament. I guess I should just start by saying that I was approached by Siesta, who also approached Nova, because this was his idea originally, several months ago. And I was just kind of like, yeah, sure, I'll be on board with this, because it was Siesta's pitch for a tournament before we even knew that we got Microsoft funding. And honestly, credit to him. I have no idea how he was able to get the funding for an S-tier event for just, me and Nova. But yeah, we got it. And, we learned shortly thereafter that there would also be T90 Titans League going on at the same time. So we would have the weekends and T90 Titans League would have the weekdays. And I think that it was fine. Maybe it was a little hard for people to follow. Just because there was so much AoE 2 going on, and a lot of the casters were splitting their time between RMS Cup and Titans League. But that said, people really liked RMS Cup, and the 2 tournaments felt very different, which I think is really important, because Titans League, much more the standard, even like a league format, something that we don't see too often in Age of Empires, but super standard maps and settings and all that stuff. Whereas RMS Cup was much more the experimental side of things, and we just had a lot of different maps and strategies, and I think that the 2 tournaments were, like, they were good foils of each other. Like, they were both different, and I feel like provided people and players with pretty different experiences. Like I said, I think the quality of games were really good. We had a lot of competitive series, and people seemed pretty interested in the event. So I guess that's kind of like what went well, is just in terms of providing a good Age of Empires 2 experience, I think RMS Cup was successful. Our production quality, I think, was fine. There is stuff that I would do differently, which I guess goes into the other point. On a personal level, like what I would have done differently or would do differently going forward is just be more involved. I feel like a lot of the time I kind of was busy doing other things, and then I kind of left Nova and Siesta off on their own when I'm the most experienced caster and most experienced with like high profile events. And there were some things, just like production things and admin decision-y things, that I feel like we could have handled a bit more smoothly. And I do think that that's kind of on me, just, in trying to be reflective. I think that, Nova did this whole nice overlay thing that I wasn't really able to get, working in time for the event just because I was so pedal to the metal. I didn't have the time to finish the RMS Cup map guides, but yeah, like those are the sorts of things that I would do differently going forward. I'd like to bring in more co-casters. Again, like there was the issue between this and T90 Titans League going on at the same time. But still, like I don't want to be too hard on myself, and I definitely don't want to be hard on Nova and Siesta, both of whom, of course, did a great job. Unfortunately for Nova, that he did get sick that final weekend. It was really unfortunate. But what can you do? I would say that as far as viewer numbers go, it was good. I think that, again, people were interested in the tournament. There were posts on social media about it, and people really were interested. I do think that people were less interested in RMS Cup than Titans League. Part of that probably has to do with the league format itself being, I think, a bit more exciting, maybe, to the average AoE2 viewer, and I think also just the fact that it's T90 doing it makes it, more flashy compared to something that's done by Ornlu and Nova and Siesta. But even with that in mind, I think that we still had decent viewer numbers. Yeah, the finals were kind of unfortunate with the 5-0. We still hit 18,000 viewers across all platforms at one point, which was slightly higher even than I think the Titans League finals. But Titans League still had the higher viewer peak, I think when Viper was playing earlier, if memory serves. That might not be 100% correct, but that's what AoE2 Rex, the spectator dashboard, said. And I think that, again, everything has to be in perspective, right? This is the first time that any of the three of us were organizing an S-tier event. I felt like things went pretty smoothly. We did allow players to play their games ahead of time because, again, having two S-tier tournaments going on at the same time is kind of trying for players when it comes to scheduling, but not too bad. We didn't have any like major drama or anything like that. I think that in terms of like preparation and stuff like that, the players that were successful were the ones that prepared the most and really spent time practicing, and I'm glad to see that sort of pan out. We do live in a world where, because we had Red Bull Wololo or Red Bull Legacy announced earlier this year, and it's like $200,000 prize pool, it makes like literally every other tournament feel insignificant compared to it, which like that's just kind of its own separate issue. But the fact that we at least had the Red Bull qualifier spots, at least, that made it a bit more enticing, I think, for players to train. And like, especially Tato and Yo in the finals, like they were clearly very well prepared. And I appreciate that a lot as an organizer. Yeah, so I guess going forward, I don't know if Microsoft is happy. I don't see why they wouldn't be happy. I guess, viewer numbers could always be higher, but consider, like, on a personal level, my channel grew massively. Got a ton of new viewers, ton of new followers, subscribers, all that stuff. And like, in terms of like growing my channel, I would say that it was quite successful. On the Twitch side of things, YouTube, my casting videos never get good viewership, and I don't really know why. Maybe it's just it doesn't work as well with the algorithm. Maybe people just have lots of casted games anyway, so they don't really stand out as much. So it didn't really do much to grow my YouTube channel, but it did do a lot to grow my Twitch channel, and for that I am quite happy. And anything else that is super relevant? Obviously, congrats to Mr. Yo, and guys, like a huge shout out to Nova and Siesta. They really did the bulk of the organizing of this event. I was just kind of the poster child, and like I said, I do wish I would have done more. I think things could have gone maybe a bit more smoothly, but this is still a learning experience for all of us, and I am happy with how things went overall. But let me know in the comments, what did you guys like about RMS Cup 2? Did you find the tournament like engrossing, engaging, all of that stuff? Were you really interested in following it? What would you change, if anything, for like an RMS Cup 3 potentially? Not saying that that's confirmed or anything. Like, I have no idea as far as that goes. But yeah, definitely let me know what you guys thought of the tournament in the comments. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.